Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Interviews playlist. Our special guest for today is a 17-year-old girl. Brooke, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Brooke Joseph. I'm from Windsor, Ontario, Canada, which is like 4 hours from Toronto, and I live right across from Detroit. I'm super into AI math, huge math nerd. I love working out, I love reading, and I love animals. But yeah, so right now I'm currently into Federated learning, which is like a machine learning setting. And I'm interested in learning all the math behind it. I'm also super into like differential privacy and looking at the different mechanisms and seeing and exploring the math behind that as well. Yeah, those are the big things I'm investigating right now. I got a couple projects on the way, but yeah, I'm super excited.
Awesome. So let's start from the very beginning, from where it all started. What sparked your interest in AI and quantum computing?
Yeah, so I actually got the opportunity to be a part of this amazing program called the Knowledge Society, which is essentially a competitive program that selects some of the brightest teens in tech around the world. And I got accepted among like a pool of 10,000 applicants, which was really exciting. And at this program, we are mentored by CEOs and people who are like super legit, like working on really cool stuff and have worked on cool stuff. And we get to go through this process where we can pick an area of interest and then go super deep and learn a lot about it. So it was all like we get to pick on something in emerging technologies. So I picked AI because I was learning all the multivariable calculus behind neural networks, and I thought it was super interesting. And I was like, okay, I got to learn more. So I got super deep into that, and I was like reading a bunch of research papers, and then I kind of taught myself how to code. So I was semi-familiar with like Python, HTML, Java, JavaScript. And then I kind of got super deep into Python and learning like how it's used in like ML. And that kind of it was easy learning like the math first because the code kind of just made sense when you knew the underlying concepts behind everything. So to me that like really excited me because it was an area I could apply my math skills and use something that I'm like super interested in. So that's sort of how I got into ML. And then I was briefly interested in quantum computing just because of like the physics. I'm not a huge physics nerd, but quantum physics is quite interesting. And so learning about like qubits and learning about like the different quantum states and the potential quantum computers could bring. And it was very interesting. And I did have the opportunity to like code on Qiskit, which is like kind of like coding on like a quantum computer, which was really cool. And then I kind of diverged away from that and got into more into AI, and that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Awesome. And yeah, I believe like that's almost all independent learning. So what is like one of the stuff that keeps you motivated and keen to continue your journey?
Yeah, so I think that having like a purpose and a passion for something is really important. My passion for math drives me. I just like sometimes I'll be sitting there and I'll find something in math and I'm like, okay, super interesting, love it. And then I want to go and I want to learn more and more and keep digging. And to me, I think that's what really keeps me going. It's not something I think I'm like, oh, I have to do this. It's just something I love doing and it comes from a place of like passion. And I do think that as a person, I'm very self-driven and motivated, and I think that helps a lot. But I definitely would say that a strong passion for something really helps you to pursue something constantly and stay motivated to like learn it yourself.
Awesome. And having this strong background in AI and quantum computing, what are you thinking of studying at the university?
Yeah, so I really want to do or go into CS, computer science, or data science. I mean, in Canada, they don't really offer many programs with data science. You can like specialize in it. And I was also considering computational mathematics, which is a program offered at Waterloo, and it specifically looks at like the math in like computing and like computers. And I find that super interesting, but I'm not super sure. I think right now I'm into like research and potentially pursuing a career in research, specifically looking at all the theoretical math behind all this amazing stuff. And yeah, that's kind of where I want to go right now, but definitely computer science.
Awesome. And what are some of the recent projects you have been working on in your field?
Yeah, so first of all, I'm like super into federated learning. And so I kind of was initially I was like super into AI, the math behind it. So I did a bunch of digging and then I wrote like an article on how artificial intelligence was being used in silicon wafer inspection because I was super into investing like a couple years ago. And if like the semiconductor shortage was like a huge craze. So I kind of wanted to combine two things I was like kind of interested in. And then from there, I started researching because I got into like cybersecurity. And then I was like, came across this paper on federated learning. And I was like, okay, what's this? So I kind of went super deep into it. And then I started learning about federated learning. And then from there, I worked with TensorFlow Federated, which is like this framework to code or to create a model for like image classification using like the MNIST data set, which was super fun. And then currently I'm working on or using Raspberry Pis to create a real federated environment, a real federated model, because everything I've done so far is all simulated. It's all like having the data centrally located because federated learning is essentially because federated learning is essentially training a model with all the data decentralized, so not locally on the model. So I was super familiar with like the pre-processing. Like it's not the same when you're doing it in a real federated environment versus like a simulated environment. So I kind of wanted to see what it was like in the real world. That's currently what I'm working on right now. The code is a little bit intense, so I'm trying to digest it a little bit and figure it out. But yeah, it's super fun and super exciting. And from there, I think I'm gonna look at TensorFlow Privacy, which is another framework that I briefly came across, and it looks at implementing differential privacy in like federated models and just like AI models in general. So I think I'm going to check that out as well after I finish this and figure out this Raspberry Pi project.
Oh, awesome. And where do you come across all those amazing projects?
So a lot of it was figuring it out on my own for sure. I will say though the program I'm a part of, the Knowledge Society, the mentorship there is incredible. There are so many people who have like that who I've talked to and who've helped me guide me to like where I am right now and kind of help me push me in the right direction. And so we have like directors there and I meet with them often and they're like amazing. They're awesome and they kind of help you narrow down what you want to do. So I think a big part of that was their guidance and their help as well. Because I remember I wasn't too sure if I was going to get into this federated learning and like investigate it more. And then my director was like, I think this is super cool. Like he messaged me the next day and he's like, Brooke, I was up and I was learning about this. It's so cool. And I was like, okay, cool. Maybe I'll like dig deeper into this. And then after that, I kind of just like, now I am where I am now and I'm just like super into it. So I think a lot of it is just like independent, but also, I definitely don't want to take all credit for it because there's a lot of people who have been guiding me and helping me for sure.
Yeah, sure. And what are some advices I would say that you would like to give to people who are interested in learning how to code or interested in getting into the AI field, but they have no background in it?
Yeah, so I think if you want to get into AI and ML, I highly suggest learning the math behind it. I mean, maybe I'm biased because I like math a lot, but I think that that really helps because when you're coding, you're essentially just writing all the math out and telling it to the computer in like a fancy different notation. So I think that is definitely the first step to go. And I also think having a basic foundation of Python is essential, and being familiar with packages like NumPy and pandas is also important. I do think, however, getting and purchasing a course on like Udacity or Coursera is very helpful because they guide you and they help you like teach you everything. I got a course on Udemy and it was like during like Black Friday, the sale, and it taught me everything like data science. It taught me how to like process the data, how to organize it, and work with pandas, NumPy, Matplotlib, and it was a bunch of like just things compiled together. And then after that, I was pretty comfortable with like my ability to like code these models and networks. And I was also comfortable with understanding the underlying concept of them. But yeah, so I think that if you want to get into AI and ML, I definitely highly suggest reading and learning all the math and then developing like a good base foundation of Python, and then also maybe like investing in a course that will help guide you and teach you like the overall framework of the model, if you will.
Awesome. And do your friends also share the same interests as you?
Yeah, So I would say more so my friends at the Knowledge Society, the program I'm part of, we're all like a bunch of nerds. I actually love it. It's such a beautiful community of people who are like highly driven, intelligent, and I have lots of friends who are super into it. And it's really cool actually because I get to meet people from all around the world. I have a really good friend from India who's super into AI and specifically NLP. And I have a friend who's like into quantum computing and quantum machine learning, and then someone who's like super into like quantum finance. It's a kind of insane. There's a bunch of just 17-year-olds who are nerding out on a bunch of things, and we all come together and we teach each other things, we work together. So I think having that community really helps to I facilitate my growth, if you will, because we're always just like motivating each other, pushing each other, and being very supportive to each other. And I'm honestly very grateful for that community of people. But yeah, I would definitely say my friends, we're a bunch of nerds.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm very glad to hear that. Yeah. Thank you so much for being a guest speaker and sharing your insights with us.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for having me. This was a pleasure.
Thank you.